Welcome to episode 50 of the Creative Train podcast. You notice there's no music playing yet. We're going to get back to that in a second. So 50 episodes now and more than 600 downloads from various places all over the world. I want to offer you my most humble thanks for welcoming this podcast into your day. And I sincerely hope that whatever discipline you're into, whatever search suggestion brought you to this podcast, I hope that my words and experiences that I've shared here along the way have resonated with you, given you maybe a boost of confidence or a new outlook or even just a chuckle shared in camaraderie. It has been a while since episode 49 called Inspired Practice, but life put before me a few big challenges at home and at work, and I had no option but to sort of put the writing and the podcast on the proverbial back burner for a few weeks. But I'm back now, creative fires burning once again, brighter and ever more eager, and I got some news about the Creative Train website and podcast. We're making a book. It's a very simple book. What it is it's an overview of the biggest topics from the Creative Train podcast, put into a very easy to read format that you can just pick up and flip to any page and find inspiration and new creative ideas. It's a bit of a workbook, but it's not a chapter book per se, so there's no way that you're supposed to read it. You can start on the last page and work your way to the beginning and find as much good stuff on the last page as on the first page, and you don't have to feel like you've missed anything as far as the chronology of the chapters goes. So it'll be available in traditional print form. I'm working on that now, as well as a downloadable ebook. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to have this all ready for release in the spring of 2026. Now, let's spin this brand new theme song I've come up with and dig into the topic of art and influence. All aboard? You might think, based on the title, that this episode is about advertising and how various audio and visual cues are used to manipulate, or rather influence, you and I as consumers. But it's not. This episode is going to be about the how and why we choose to surround ourselves with the things that we do in our homes, our offices, our cars, lockers, desktops, cell phone wallpapers, all these things that we find beautiful, comforting, sentimental, nostalgic, motivational, and somehow affirming of who we are. Who we are as moms, dads, siblings, friends, but also as artists and creators ourselves. All aboard? I think it goes beyond the basic color palette we've chosen. The flow of or how we lay out our rooms and environments. I think it finds its roots deeper in our minds and hearts, how we surround ourselves with souvenirs of touchstone moments or mementos of experience, whether it be photos from a vacation, or maybe it's a pretty dish in your living room that you keep interesting stones in that you find while you're out and about. These things give us means to remember those subtle or not so subtle conditions that shaped our here and now. They allow us to relive those moments and often reintroduce ourselves back to ourselves in those times when we feel maybe untethered or our innermost bearing of rightness is feeling off. It's no small thing. Take a look around you and check out your various environments from this perspective. Do these spaces feel like you? Do they carry your vibe factor? Is it a bit overstuffed at times? That's okay. Is it a bit disorganized? That's okay too. If you do stuff, you're bound to gather stuff. And this reminds me of a funny story. I think I've recounted it on a past episode where I had a client come to my home audio recording studio one day, and on the way up to the attic studio, he looks around and goes, "My God, Mark, don't ever ask me for help if you decide to move. Why do you have so much stuff?" To which I replied, "Well, I do a lot of things." Sometimes there's wood for frames stacked up in the hallway in the front hall till I have a chance to take it to the shop. Sometimes there's a few guitars hanging around in cases if I have a late gig and I don't want to put stuff away at 3 a.m., you know? My wife is the rock collector I mentioned before. We have dishes and tables and vessels with beautiful things from all over the world in them. And she can tell you stories in great detail, like excruciating detail about every single one of them. And the joy on her face when recounting these stories, lets you touch that very moment where you can understand the importance of these things to her. Reliving these moments from her younger days or even the past weekend. Everything has a story, and it has shaped her to this day. And they are arranged in very creative and artistic ways that change as the seasons do. As artists and creators, we need to keep things around us as reminders that we can do stuff. Those moments of self-doubt or imposter syndrome or just dry creative times, you know, those ones, we look to these things for more than reminders. For as artists, we'll always have our eagle eyes out to find the flaws in these things. And sometimes, for me anyways, seeing these things can trigger another creative idea, maybe for another project altogether, or maybe just how to rework the process if I'm making a series of similar pieces. Some might view us as keeping our own creations on display in our homes as some kind of narcissistic trait, but I think it's quite far from that in my case anyways. It's nice to see and hear some of my personal creative evolution from time to time, and it's also a good way to keep track of things that I know could use some work. Seeing an old technique or hearing an old sound and going, geez, I wouldn't do that anymore. But to hear it is to re-experience it is to honor that part of you that was newer at that time. And those things are important for us. As for other creators and artists on display in our home, there's a lot. From local to not so local Indigenous artists from Canada and beyond, to classic prints of Klimt and Maxfield Parrish and Macintosh, and even a bunch of rock and roll themed posters from my wife's collection. All in all, it's a very busy looking home because we are very busy people, and our passions are reflected in every inch of how we choose to feather this particular nest. And this brings me to a somewhat off-topic question that will make more sense in a minute. Have you ever met somebody who says, I don't like dogs, or I don't trust dogs? Well, I'm kind of that way with people who have zero things in their environments that say anything about them. And it's not that I think they're keeping secrets from me, but it either hasn't occurred to them to make their space their own, or maybe they don't have much, if anything, going on inside to express. And that's a really difficult thing to put into words without coming across as arrogant or diminishing of these people in some way. But I can't help but wonder. There might be the odd trinket, like grandma's old sugar jar, or maybe the dreaded bathroom art print of kittens in a basket. It's not that I don't like or trust these folks. It's just that I can't help but wonder, why is there no evidence of any personality of the inhabitants in these spaces? None. I asked a friend who's very into interior design and modern architecture styles, and she told me that people are craving a, quote, clean and modern environment. Neutral color palettes, simple lines and design. So to some, here we have to draw a distinction. Clean and modern means a total absence of anything but the light gray or grayish paint on their walls. To me, clean and modern is an organized, if not curated collection of things that not only reflect myself as an artist, but where I am currently in my journey as an artist. And that's the modern part to me, what is current. If somebody thinks that modern means a vacuum, it's kind of sad. I get to determine what is current in my environment. As an artist and as a creator, you also get to determine what is great and what is current. To wait for someone else, be it a fashion icon or some kind of designer, to tell you what you should surround yourself with, well, that is just going to make us all slight variations on a theme. And this goes back to a point where I've made in several episodes, and that is of your vibe factor, that intangible thing that says you were here or you did this particular thing. This was my distinction between calling one person an artist versus another being a creator. Artists imagine and bring to life those new things, the novel ideas, methods, and approaches, whereas the creator, or maybe the term crafter would be more apt in this time, would be the ones who buy the patterns, follow the instructions, and all end up with more or less the same results. And as I said before, there's ample time and space for both of these. You can learn a lot from those crafting patterns. But all it takes is for a quick trip through your local Christmas bazaar at the community center to see the results of this on full display. Dozens of variations on themes of what is, quote, modern and current, and your eyes become numbed by the sameness of it all. You don't even want to look anymore because it's just more of the same. There's nothing unique. That being said, in the right place at the right time, these things will sell, and the creators can make some good side gig income from it. Whereas the totally original artist will be snubbed or not even really given a second look, as their works are not what the current appetite for art is. I've lived this. I've seen it more times than I can count. At art and craft shows, you'll notice people lingering and purchasing from the common vendors, those with the personalized wooden signs, the photographs on greeting cards, and imported clothing. And you come across someone who is totally not following these trends and displays truly original art, such as handmade jewelry, some sort of vibrant paintings. People will take a look, smile at the vendor, and make their way off to the next table of greeting cards and wooden signs. I suppose this is where the artist has to become much more selective about how, where, and why they display their works and offer them for sale, if you're into that. Not everyone is terribly inspired to make works to sell, and that's totally fine. But if you are, you will find at some point yourself in the middle of a truly lost effort of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Believe me, it's not a symptom of arrogance to choose not to engage in these types of events. It can preserve your feeling of self-worth, value, and integrity as an artist, and this is far more important to keeping you on the rails of your creative journey than participating in events where you find that you don't really belong. Some call it reading the room or pick your battle, whatever. It's about what your definition of worthiness of your time is, your effort and your energy, and what is not worthy of your time, effort, and energy. The art and influence topic weaves back in here in the form of, to use another euphemism or whatever, finding your tribe, meaning finding where your art is not only welcomed, but will have a place among other actually original, stimulating creations, which indeed carry the vibe of each artist. The influence is that when you find community, whether it is in a gallery or even a social context, you subtly give and receive support. The very nature and integrity of your art and creations speaks this support and influence that so many artists silently yearn for. There is strength in such a community. Yes, there will be those who are jealous of your successes, mostly due to guilt over their own inaction. Pump the brakes super hard if you ever have one of those thoughts creep into your head. You know, the thoughts like when you're looking at somebody's stuff, you go like, oh yeah, that'll sell, or they clearly didn't think that one through, stuff like that. Those negative expectations, anticipations, and damnations of your fellow creative person's efforts and results. For a deeper dive into that particular topic, check out episode 10 called Toxicity in Creative Partnerships, where I recount my own experiences working with someone very closely for a very long time. Someone who not only started to diminish and dismiss me and my work, but also made every effort to draw everyone else down to that same negative scrutiny of everyone and everything that was not their own particular work. I think you'd be surprised who it was. Anyway, bringing us back to the initial topic of art and influence. If you do or are hoping to be selling your creations, always keep in mind that your work will be welcomed into someone's life if it resonates with them. Something created solely because you think it's going to sell is always going to carry less of a permanence of depth or meaning. It will have much less lasting impression of beauty and quality once that particular trend has passed. But something created of your own mind and heart and soul and imagination will always contain a constant vibration of inspiration and a very potent, however subtle, reminder that the person who created it and the person who welcomed it into their world are somehow connected. This right here is where, how, and why we need real art. Not just things to decorate our walls or fill the air with sounds or scents or flavors, but it's to make people think, to stop and wonder, to pause and consider, to acknowledge that there is indeed something beautiful, unique, and wonderful about us all, and that somehow, even if we cannot find the words to describe it, that we are all connected, that we are all somehow one. In this vast dimension of potentials, we are sharing the experience together. And it might just be your creations, your art, your words, your images that gives somebody a touchstone that they can go, yes, I don't have the words to express what I feel, but this person does. I'm going to bring their stuff to my house. So why not try to beautify the time and place and space a bit while we're all here? That's a rather high bar to set, but I think it's totally worth the effort. There's your pep talk. Now go get to work. Yeah, you can get a little bit mystical, I guess, sometimes when you're talking about why you create art, why you, even maybe as an educator, are so passionate about sharing not just the book facts, but how to tap into people's consciousness, to their minds, to inspire them. Not just to inspire them to want to buy your stuff, but to inspire them to learn, to seek on their own. Art has that power. It's a wonderful thing. And if you've touched that moment and it has inspired you, I'm so happy for you. If you're still looking for that spark, I think really all you need to do is keep pushing. It's coming. It's coming. It's inevitable. If you approach it with your most positive and pure intentions, you'll get it.